Hey everyone, it's Jaitni. I am a mindset and nutrition coach. I work with clients and help them cope with stress, depression, or anxiety through healthy habit formation, proper nutrition, and lifestyle changes. If you are interested in wellness or wellness intrigues you, then please make sure to subscribe to my channel. I drop a wellness related video every week. In addition to this, I do send out a blog every other week. So if you enjoy self-care and self-love reminders, then make sure to sign up for the blog. The link for that is in the description. And lastly, you can follow me on Instagram at Imperfect Bodies by C Modi if you want more such reminders on a regular basis. So this week's topic is money management for wellness. You may wonder, what do finances have to do with wellness? But the answer is everything. You're more than your diet, you're more than your appearance, your body weight, you're more than the exercise you do or you don't do. There's so many other factors in your life, outside factors, external factors, that will have an effect on your overall health. And whatever affects you mentally and emotionally will also affect you physically, because everything is intertwined. You've heard me say that before. So that's why discussing your finances and getting a hold of your finances is extremely important. That's an area of our lives that can really be a trigger for some of us. For some of us, it can be extremely stressful, whether you're dealing with debt or you're dealing with the inability to pay for some of your basic needs. Whatever it is, if you're not on track to build the retirement funds that you had planned, or you all of a sudden you have a crisis that comes into your life and that kind of throws you off track financially. So there are a lot of reasons, but don't let this topic scare you. Sometimes when we start discussing finances and money matters, it can get a little overwhelming. And it can feel like, I've heard it all before, blah, 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 blah. This is something that I don't really want to deal with. So don't let that scare you. Trust me, what I share is really simple. It's really straightforward. It's something that you can put into practice. The most important thing about what I will share with you is that start turning these suggestions into habits. It's not something that you do once, maybe once a year or once every 6 months. It's something that you need to do on a consistent basis. Just like you follow somewhat of a routine in life where you wake up, you brush your teeth, you have breakfast, so on and so forth. This is similar. The more you start to make your finances a habit and start to get really comfortable with them, the easier it's going to be to manage them. So really start to think of this as all about consistency and all about making it a part of your routine and your daily habits. Okay, so suggestion number one is take stock of your finances. Basically what that means is figure out, what are you bringing home at the end of the day? What that means is if you are working or if you get a paycheck, what is your income? How much of that are you actually saving? How much of that are you spending? And where are your investments? Your 401k is an investment. Your home is an investment. If you've invested a certain percentage in stocks, or if you do any of that outside of your 401k, those are all investments. It's investing into your retirement funds. So where exactly is your money sitting? Where is it going? And how much of it is in different places? So it's extremely important to know that. A lot of times we really just go off of a paycheck, or we see the amount that gets deposited into our accounts, and then whatever needs to be auto debited is auto debited, and that's done. But it doesn't work like that. You need to really figure out, okay, how much of this is going into savings? Are you on target to save? How much do you have sitting in investments? And then how much really liquid cash do you have sitting? So God forbid, if there was some kind of emergency, you were able to get to that cash as soon as possible. So, this is not about judging where you are financially. It's really about getting the facts. That's it. So the exercise can be really straightforward. You pull up your bank account, you look at your statements, look at the money that you have there, you look at your paycheck, you look at what's coming into your bank account, and you look at your 401k and anywhere else that you might have money invested. And it's that simple. Don't complicate it, because the more you do, the more you will not want to do this exercise. So think of it as three things. It's your investments, your savings, and your income. That is really what you want to focus on. Tip number 2 is have a budget. So many times when I talk to friends, or I talk to family, or I talk to anybody, and they tell me about a trip they want to take, or they tell me about something they want to do, and one of my first questions is, well, what is your budget? And typically the person has a very blank look. That same rule applies to your life. You cannot have that blank look when it comes to your finances. You need to run with a budget. You don't need to stick to that budget. If things change, you might need to change that number as life progresses and things happen in your life, but you need to have a number. And what I mean by that number is, how much do you want to save at the end of the day? That's the number you need to focus on. How much money do you want for play money, for guilt-free spending, whether that's entertainment or whether, that's shopping, or whatever your guilty pleasures are. What is that amount, and also what is the amount that you want to save at the end of the day. That's extremely important. Forget about the expenses, forget about the income that's coming in. Really start to focus on the savings and start to focus on some of that play money. There are a lot of budget calculators out there on Google that you can find. There's one that I like, and it's the 50-30-20 rule. So it's 50% of what you're bringing home goes towards your needs. So if it's $100, or whatever currency you're using, if $100 is what's coming in, 50% of that, so that $50 goes towards needs. And those needs are, the rent that you're paying, or the gas money that you need, or the lease on your car, paying for utilities. These are all very basic needs, so you have to set aside money for that. And then there's 30% of your wants. What are some of these wants? Some of the, like I said, the play money, the guilt-free spending, the conscious spending, spending it on things and on activities that actually bring you joy. So there is 30% of that. And then the last 20% is what you use to pay off your debt, or you put that into savings. Basically paying off your debt is a form of money that's going into your savings, because the more debt you're racking up, the more it's affecting your credit score, and so on and so forth. The drill. So 20% goes to savings and to debt repayment, and then you have 30% that's just for fun, for your wants, and then you have 50% that's for your needs. So that's one rule of thumb that I like to follow, but it's up to you. Find a calculator that works for you and your needs, but you need to have a budget. Without a budget, you cannot get a hold of your finances. That's a very important step after step 1, which is identifying all the numbers. Step number 3 is track your expenses. With plastic currency, so using your credit card, or using online payment methods, whether it's PayPal, Venmo, GPay, if you're in that part of the world, it's so easy just to have an outflow of money without even realizing how much you've spent and where you've spent it. So it's really important to track your expenses. Simplify it for you. Use an app if that's easier. Hook it up, connect it to your bank account, or to your credit cards, and make sure everything is linked so you can track it that way. Or if you're old school, make sure you have an Excel file and you can put it into Excel. And if you're even more old school than that, and you're like my mother, have a diary where you write down all of your daily expenses. And yes, she does that every single day. She writes down where the money is going and how much was spent and where it was spent, and she's still able to save. So tracking your expenses is key. Most of us, like I said, we don't know where the money is going, so you need to start to get a handle on that. And especially with credit cards and with using forms like GPay, it's very easy for the money to go, but you don't know where it's going. And the reason for this is you need to start connecting the dots, right? Where is your money going? Where is the majority of the money going? And the other part of this step is to make sure that the money is going where you want it to go. If you're just spending the money and wherever you're spending it is not bringing you joy, it's not making you feel like you are spending consciously, then there's no point of spending that money. It's your hard-earned money, so use it wisely and spend it on things or activities that bring you joy. So there are two reasons for tracking your expenses. One is you start to identify your patterns, and two is to figure out if you are consciously spending your money towards what makes you happy. And not just, obviously, like I said, there's 50% of that goes towards needs, but then you have another 30%. So especially that 30%, are you spending it on, on things and activities that make you happy? So it's very important to track your expenses. You can also, on a monthly basis, you can set reminders. You can look at your credit card statements. You can also look at, statements for like GPay or PayPal, Venmo, whichever method of payment that you use. But look at that. It can be scary. It can be tedious. It can be on the back burner because you have more important things to do. But until you look at some of this stuff, you will not be able to identify where the money is going. So it's a really crucial step in figuring out your spending patterns and then being able to change those patterns if you wish to do so. One other thing that I want to tell you, because this is something that happened to me, is, when I was looking at my credit card statement some time ago, I'd stopped doing it actually, and then I restarted it. And when I did, I was looking at the monthly charges, and I realized I had a couple of charges on autopay. And I thought I had stopped autopay on these accounts, and I thought, I had ended my subscription to these services, and I hadn't. So when I did the math, there was, a few months of money that I lost because I hadn't done the due diligence and I hadn't looked at my credit card statements. So that is also another reason why you look at these statements, why you look at these bills and see where the money is going. Because if you have something set on autopay and you've forgotten about it, this is a great opportunity to go back and make sure you can get that fixed so you're not losing any more money. Sometimes, you also get charged for things that you didn't use. You may have canceled a membership, but that cancellation may have not gone through and it's auto-renewed and you've still paid for it, or you've paid for it for a couple of months. So again, that's another reason why you look at the data, you reach out, make sure you get your money back. So it's your money, track it, because if you don't, nobody else will, and people will be very quick to take it. Okay, tip number 4 is have a set amount that you want to save and then work your way backwards. A lot of times for many of us, our savings tend to be an afterthought. We say, okay, once I pay this off, once I buy this for myself, once I do this, if I have any money left over, then I'll save that amount. No, it needs to flip. So that savings comes in first. Obviously be realistic with that number. But remember that every little bit counts. So again, depending on the currency you follow, I'm going to just stick to dollars for now. But even $50 a month will eventually add up if you're investing it in the right places and you're saving from the right places. So keep that amount consistent and keep that amount non-negotiable. The only way to do that is if you save at the beginning of the cycle instead of at the end. Because if it's an afterthought, again, it's going to be forgotten. That money is going to go somewhere else. There's going to be a different priority. So at the start of your month or at the start of your billing cycle, you make sure that money is automatically pulled out and set aside. I have this set up with my bank account where I have an auto withdrawal, and there is a certain amount that every month is just pulled out from the checking going into the savings, and then whatever I choose to do with the savings and build on it is my decision. But that happens automatically regardless of where the money is going, regardless of the month I'm having. That amount is consistent, and the amount I've come up with, like I said, is pretty realistic. So whether it's a month where things are a little up and down, or if it's a month where I've been able to save a little more than I intended to, no matter what, that amount is always pulled out of my checking and goes into my savings. So have that set up. There are so many systems in place now with banking, especially with online banking, that you can actually make it work for you instead of the other way around. but you need to have that savings set aside. And again, it has to be done earlier and the first thing in the month, really, not at the end of the month, because it's a lot easier to work off of, let's say $2,000 a month if you know that's all you have, instead, working off of an amount that's much higher and then realizing that you're not going to be able to set anything aside. So if you already know that this is your budget, this is what you need to work off of, whatever that amount is, you'll make it work. You'll figure it out in the next couple of months and realize, okay, that maybe $1,000, setting aside $1,000 is a little impractical. Maybe that number needs to change. But there needs to be a set number and it needs to happen on a consistent basis. Now, the last tip is make your savings work for you. Savings accounts are meaningless. If the money is just sitting there, you are losing opportunity on becoming wealthier. So your money needs to grow in some shape or form. So your savings need to either be invested somewhere, whether that's in property, if you have enough of that for it, or it needs to be invested in stocks. And even with that, you can go into mutual funds, index funds, and go into something that is not day trading. You definitely do not want to do day trading, but go into something that's long term. Because the whole point of it is, if you are setting aside $100 a month and that money is just going into your savings account and it's just sitting there, it's not building. It's just money that's there, because you're not getting much interest off of that $100 on your savings account. But if you put it in an FD, which is something that people do in India, which is a fixed deposit, or if you put it into certain mutual funds, that money is compounding. It's building off of itself. And yes, there are going to be some swings over a course of time, but the whole purpose of this kind of investment is that you turn to it a few years down the road. You give yourself a pretty long pattern, whether that's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever your target is, and then pull that money out, because by that point it's built. And if you don't believe me, you can do the research, you can look at the data, you can look at the history. That is one of the best ways that money grows for you. So don't just leave your savings sitting there. Do something with it. Invest it wisely, obviously. You don't just invest it in anything willy-nilly, but be smart about it. Like I said, whether it's starting an Airbnb or buying a property that you want to give on rent, or you're buying land for whatever reason, or you invested into some kind of franchise, or my favorite is just putting it in some index funds and letting the money do its thing and it growing over a period of time. So that is extremely important. Just money sitting there doesn't mean anything. You do need to allow it to compound. You do need to allow it to grow over a period of time. So those are the 5 tips. Very basic. If a lot of it feels overwhelming, just pick one, and that one can be gaining awareness. That can be the first one that I suggested, is just take a look at what is coming in, what are you saving, and where are your investments. That's it. You just start with that. You can mull over that for a little bit, and then you can move on to some of the other steps that I shared. You can get more detailed. You can really do a deep dive into this, take a look at some of the finance gurus and their articles and their books, and follow their advice. What I've shared with you is basic, but a lot of times to get started and to see some momentum, you have to go back to your basics. And that's why I've shared some of these tips with you, which is really getting a hold of your finances, which is figuring out your investments, your savings, your income, tracking your expenses, making your savings work for you, having a budget, and having a number that you want to save, and then working backwards from that number. And automate your process as much as possible. If that's something, again, that works for you, it'll save you time, and it'll be a lot easier where you're not missing deadlines and you're not accruing late payments and fees. And one other thing that I want to tell you about savings, when I say, let your savings grow and compound for you, a big part of that is also paying off your debt. Because a lot of times you're not really paying off the principal amount that you've bothered. You're basically paying off interest month after month after month. So you're just stuck in this rut. You're in this cycle where that main amount that you borrowed is not even budging, and you feel like you're making no progress whatsoever. So make sure that whatever you save, what you set aside, a form of savings is when you start to repay your debt. So start to do that. If investing in stocks is not an option, that's okay, and you have debt that you need to pay off, that needs to be a priority. Start doing that, and pay off the basic minimum. Where it's not going to lead to accruing more interest. And where you are starting to pay some of that off and you're seeing some positive progress. And then if you still have a little bit left over, you can invest it in savings and you can put it in stocks or wherever you see fit. So that kind of wraps it up. A big part of finances is having the right mindset. If you come from a place of, where you feel like there's just not enough, there will never be enough, and you are not capable of having any, you are never going to be wealthy. If you have that energy, you will always have that energy, and that will be the reality of your life. So remember, even with everything that I've shared, your mindset matters. You need to believe in yourself. You need to give yourself some credit, and you have to have faith that things will work out as long as you do the work. The other part of this is you also need to be extremely patient. Money matters don't just get resolved overnight. Wealth is not built overnight. That's why when I started off the video, I told you one of the first things is you need to start to make a lot of this a part of your routine. These need to be habits that you cultivate, that you stick to, and you need to be consistent with all of this. Look at what happened to me. A few months, I stopped looking at my credit card statement, and I've lost some money towards a subscription that was supposed to be canceled. So it's little things like that that will add up. So be patient with yourself, believe in yourself, believe that you deserve the wealth that you aspire to have or that you already have. And, good luck with all your money matters. Thank you for stopping by. I know it's a slightly segue topic from just direct wellness, but money plays a big role in our wellness. It is a huge part of our lives, and it's something that needs to be discussed and something that you need to get a hold of. So good luck with that, and I will catch you here next week. Thanks so much. Bye.